If the world is flat, how come it's a globe when we take pictures from space?
Oh, space is fake. You don't know? You don't know space is fake.
The one thing they fear is 300 million people coming together on one topic and saying, this makes no sense. We need answers.
An illusion will be created so vast, so large that it escapes their perception. Those who see it will be thought of as insane.
The very first spacewalk appears to be a stop animation fraud, and the Apollo moon landings were clearly produced on a soundstage with artificial lighting and a Scotch-Light front projection background. So it should be no surprise if we find more lies and deception when it comes to NASA and the worldwide space program. In several spacewalk videos, we can see what appears to be underwater air bubbles, as if the entire scene is actually taking place underwater, which is interesting, because that is exactly where the astronauts train.
Ready? Your leg behind you, Tony? Yes, please. One more question.
The Neutral Buoyancy Lab is the largest swimming pool in North America. It contains a full-size replica of the space station. And this is where all astronauts start to train for spacewalks.
I heard that there's also a Japanese module simulated?
Yes, in that far corner, we have the Japanese section. It's got the Japanese exposed palette. The Columbus is the European portion. The lab is kind of the U.S. portion. So it is an international space station, and the Russians have their own section out towards the back.
So if they already have the world's largest pool with a life-size model of the International Space Station, then all they need to do is key out the background and replace it with the black of space. For some mysterious reason, astronauts are at risk of drowning in their suits during spacewalks. And in this supposed spacewalk, we can see the reflection of a cameraman who appears to be in the training pool. Being underwater provides a realistic appearance of being in what we are told is the vacuum of space. And NASA has other tricks for when the astronauts are allegedly inside the International Space Station. Their special zero-gravity stunts can be produced in a jet, simulating zero-G by nose-diving the plane. But this can only be sustained for about 30 seconds before the plane has to level off. So when they need to have conversations with the media, they have other tricks. In 2016, when George H.W. Bush visited the ISS Flight Control Room, the camera briefly revealed one of these tricks. NASA astronaut Tim Peake can be seen performing for the camera in front of a chroma key background with tracking markers. The tracking markers are indicative of a virtual camera being used for layered CGI elements. This, along with virtual reality contact lenses, allow the astronauts the ability to handle virtual objects, making it appear that they are handling objects in zero gravity. This trick is used often. Here we see a glitch on the CGI layer of the overlaid image of a microphone being passed back and forth. Here we see a glitch where the astronaut grabs for an object floating in 3D space that we don't see. Simulating zero gravity is their main trick.
And in case there are any conspiracy theorists out there, how would you prove to us that you're in zero gravity?
And they all have the same move to demonstrate this, a somersault. And when you examine them all, you will see that it's something that could be done with hidden wires. In some videos, we can see the wires. And in others, we can see them adjusting the hidden wires. In one video, we can see the wire harness that they failed to crop out. In another video, we can see the astronaut fade out of the foreground. And in one video, we see the entire separation of the background image from the foreground, which clearly shows NASA's use of video trickery. the 3 astronauts, along with a few objects in front of them, are being layered on top of a false background. Female astronauts all appear to be wearing large amounts of hairspray, apparently to fake the appearance of zero gravity, which should appear to look more fluid-like. Satellites are also very suspicious. The amount of satellites we are told are up in space is impossible. You'd think that there would be photographs of them, but there aren't. What you will find are hundreds of artistic impressions, obscure videos of satellites being launched via high-altitude balloons, and random videos of crashed satellites attached to high-altitude balloons. And why would we even need satellites when we have fiber optic cables that reach across oceans? The veneration of the vector symbol in the logos of every single space agency on Earth reveals the unified nature of the worldwide space program. Hidden as the number 7, it's in every single mission patch. It's also in Star Trek, Stargate, and Space Force. And it's also in the symbol for Freemasonry, which is certainly worth mentioning, seeing as how, along with known Satanists and criminals, NASA was founded by Freemasons, and the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry claims their very own flag that went to the moon on the Apollo 11 mission. So is there any such thing as outer space? As it turns out, it was the Catholic Church that foisted the heliocentric model upon the public with an army of Jesuit astronomers. And for centuries, the scientific community challenged it for its many flaws. But this all changed when NASA put a man on the moon. Ever since then, the heliocentric model has been accepted by the masses as common knowledge. The old world model was not flat like pop culture would have you believe. It was a heavenly sphere, but hollow like a snow globe or a fishbowl, where we live inside of it on a flat surface. It's interesting to note that in the 1960s, when the US government was detonating nuclear bombs in the upper atmosphere, they called it Operation Fishbowl. According to British occultist Dion Fortune, we are stuck in a fallen state within the lowest sphere of the Tree of Life, a Sephiroth called Malkuth, and the only way out is to go within the inner space of individual spirit through prayer and meditation and with divine guidance. The hero's journey, taught by Joseph Campbell. Wherever we are, one thing is for certain. The stories we are told by NASA are pure fiction and lies.
We have been taught, contrary to all common sense and experience, that the seemingly motionless, flat Earth beneath our feet is actually a massive moving ball spinning through space at over 1,000 miles per hour, wobbling and tilting 23.5 degrees on its vertical axis while orbiting the sun at a blinding 67,000 miles per hour in concert with the entire solar system, spiraling 500,000 miles per hour around the Milky Way and careening across the expanding universe away from the Big Bang at an incredible 670 million miles per hour. But that you feel and experience none of it.
Quoting Alan Dames, if the government or NASA had said to you that the Earth is stationary, imagine that. And then imagine we are trying to convince people that no, it's not stationary, it's moving forward at 32 times rifle bullet speed and spinning at 1,000 miles per hour. We would be laughed at. We would have so many people telling us, you're crazy, the Earth's not moving. We would be ridiculed for having no scientific backing for this convoluted moving Earth theory. And not only that, but then people would say, oh, then how do you explain a fixed calm atmosphere and the sun's observable movement? How do you explain that? Imagine saying to people, no, the atmosphere is moving also, but is somehow magically velcroed to the moving Earth. The reason is not simply because the Earth is stationary. So what we are actually doing is what makes sense. We are saying that the moving Earth theory is nonsense. The stationary Earth theory makes sense, and we are being ridiculed. You've got to picture it being the other way around to realize just how ridiculous the situation is. This theory from the government and NASA that the Earth is rotating and orbiting and leaning over and wobbling is absolute nonsense, and yet people are clinging to it tightly like a teddy bear. They just can't bring themselves to face the possibility that the Earth is stationary, though all evidence shows it. We feel no movement, the atmosphere hasn't been blown away, we see the sun move from east to west. Everything can be explained by a motionless Earth without bringing in all these assumptions to cover up previous assumptions gone bad.
None of it. None of it. None of it. None of it. None of it.